Okay, so today we're under our Jeep, and it's been about 30,000 miles since I've done anything with the transmission fluid, and I noticed it's getting a little on the brown side, and a little burned looking, so I'm going to go ahead and change it. So what I'm first going to have to do is go under here and take off all these bolts holding the pan on. So in order to drain the pan, I do believe there's not a drain plug on these Jeeps. Nope, there's no drain plug. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this pan, and then we'll let all the oil run out. Notice I have it jacked up to one side, so it should run out in that corner over there first. And then we'll go ahead and clean it up, change the tranny filter, put a new gasket on it, and fill it with good tranny fluid with some Lucas stop slip, and we should be good to go. For the record, my transmission shifts and everything absolutely perfectly. I just add the Lucas stuff for preventative measures. But anyway, we're going to get working here, so here we go. Alright, so it appears that these are 13 millimeter sockets. I got people welding in the background, but anyway, it appears that a 13 millimeter socket, 12 point fits these tranny bolts. It might be American, but the 13 fits it just fine. And so we're going to go ahead and get these taken off. There should be 14 of them on my specific model here, so, and they should be fairly loose. So anyway, again, you want to be messing with the transmission pan. So 14 of these all around, and they should pan should drop out, and it shouldn't require a lot of prying to break this loose. But anyway, I'll get these all taken out and just kind of show the process of removing this pan. And there's one of these over here by the exhaust mount that proves to be pretty hard to get at, so I can't find a way to snag it here with a socket. Looks like we'll get over here and get a good look at it. This is kind of tricky. So we already got the tranny pan dripping down a little bit. So, dripping right on our recording device. So as you can see, the low light, there's a little lip here where the exhaust is hooked onto, and it's hard to get this bolt, but if you come in behind it and push the rubber over, you can get on this bolt and actually break it loose. So as you see right there. So anyway, obviously we can see that the bloodbath has begun, so I'm going to get this pan down without making too much of a mess. So for the sake of recording, I might not be able to show the pan coming off, but you get the general idea. You can see that it's weeping pretty good, and it should just fall right out of there. Alright, as you can see, there's quite the bloodbath getting this all apart. It generally is with you're dealing with transmissions, so it's always good to have cardboard down under your car, so I contain most of it onto the cardboard. But anyway, so the pan, you usually want to loosen one end at a time, and then like I said, I got the car jacked up over there to one side so that it would run out one side of the pan, so that went well. That helped contain it. Unfortunately, I didn't place my oil catch can in the right place, but Anyway, so once you drop this pan off and you get your 14 bolts out, if you're dealing with the 6 liter, there's then going to be this filter implement here, and it's kind of interesting ordeal to get that out, but pretty much, get the bolts here. There's 2 of these here, and they're located right in these 2 spots. And you can see from the picture where I'm pointing, but as you can see, it's a hex-headed deal, and I don't know exactly what the hex number is on it, but that's something to keep in mind of what you're going to be dealing with when you have to get that out. So anyway, I'm going to get all this transmission fluid out of here. You can see it's pretty brown. Get this pan all cleaned up, all the grit and gravel, make sure that's out of it. And then I'm going to go under the car and clean up the mating surface for the gasket, and we should be good to go. I also want to make a note here that there's a magnet down in the bottom, so you can get an idea of how much wear is on your transmission. So as far as mine goes, there's quite a bit of metallic in there. So at 167,000 miles or so, I'm not surprised. The last time this was open was 70,000 miles, so 100,000 miles I've accumulated that much. So you want to make sure you get this magnet good and cleaned off before you put everything back together. And naturally, we're going to clean this pan up. I'm going to use some paint thinner in there. It dissolves oil real well, and we'll get going from there. Okay, so we got our tranny pan all cleaned up, and we got our gasket set in, ready to install. Now they make the holes on the gasket slightly smaller, so what's really nice about this is you can just partially thread your bolts in just a little bit, and then when you put your pan up there, it helps line all the bolt holes up, and you can get it in without screwing up your gasket on the way. So you really don't want to forget to put your magnet in either, so take good care to keep track of that magnet, because it's really important. So make sure you get that back in your pan. Now here's our filter implement, and you want to make sure you install this with this O-ring style gasket facing towards the transmission. Obviously seems rudimentary, but it's an easy mistake when you're fumbling around under there. You also want to make sure that this O-ring hasn't fallen off, because they do have a tendency to fall off, so that definitely needs to be there. So anyway, you're going to install that and just run the screws in, tight but not Gorilla tight where you snap them off, because they're pretty thin, so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on to installing the pan. Okay, so we got our filter up in here. It's this black thing, and again, it's pretty easy to slide on. The trick is not tightening it too tight, because like I said, the threads are very, very fine, and the screws are really small. You can easily strip that out, so you want to be very mindful of this when you're tightening it up. So you really don't want to go until like you can't turn it anymore with your hand, because at that point you've probably broke it, and you probably know you broke it by then. So you want to be very careful when you're doing this. So I'm taking this extra moment here to make a special note about that, because that's a novice mistake that many people do. So be mindful of that, because if you strip out your threads, it's just a horrible mess. So anyway, we'll move on here. What I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to go around and clean all the mating surfaces of where this gasket is going to go with a rag, and then I'm going to go ahead and slide the transmission pan up there and screw a few of the bolts in by hand. And like I showed earlier, with the pan being, or with the gasket being able to hold the bolts in, so it should line up real nice where it's real easy to screw in. The gasket shouldn't get all messed up. So anyway, we're gonna get moving. Alright, so we got the pan up here. Unfortunately, I dropped my phone that I'm recording this with and it shut off. So what I did is I lifted the pan up here, and with our guided bolts I put one bolt in here and one bolt in over here and then one bolt in on this other side, screwed them in, then I could let go and the pan is just hanging there on its own, and then I'll go around and run each of these in, and then once they're slightly snug, I'm going to do a kind of a crisscross pattern, one over here, one over there, one over here, one over there, to try and get it snug down evenly. So again, before I threw that up there, I cleaned up my mating surfaces really good so that gasket would seal. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these bolts run down here, and then I'm going to get the heck out from under this car finally. So then we'll move on to adding fluid. So here we go. Alright, so we got our pan all ran down here. Nice grinder in the background. And I want to make mention of how tight to tighten them if you don't have a torque wrench. See how it's just starting to pucker, but not really puckered that bad. That's pretty much what you're after. So that slight amount of puckering is perfect, just not too much. And you want to make sure all the bolts are equally snug, but that's a good way to tell. So anyway, that's the end. We'll move up from under this car now. Alright, so now that we got the worst part of the job done here, we're going to go ahead and add our tranny fluid. Now Jeeps, it specifies this ATF +3 or +4 or whatever, so it's kind of open to interpretation if you want to listen to that or not, but I'm going to go ahead and listen to it. So apparently it takes 4 quarts, so I'm going to put 3 quarts of this Valvoline +4 in here, but I'm also going to add a quart of this Lucas stop slip. Again, not because I have any problems, but this is actually the only automatic transmission car that I drive, and way back at 70,000 miles it lost overdrive. Well, I put this stuff in, and I've had overdrive ever since, and I'm at about 165,000 miles on this Jeep now. So with that type of record, I think I'm just going to keep it up and see just how much I can get out of this thing. But anyway, so pretty much 4 quarts here, all this together, and I'll put that in, and then we'll light it off and see what we see. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done. So when I'm adding this Lucas stop slip, what I really like to do is add half my quart of the normal transmission fluid to the transmission, and then I take my Lucas and I add it and fill the original quart of transmission fluid back up, so it's a 50-50 mix, and that really helps to add this Lucas stuff, because this Lucas stuff is like really thick. So you'll spend a lot of time trying to add it, but if you're in the process where you're actually adding transmission fluid as well, it's really handy to add it right in, and I'll just show how easy it pours. It's much better than trying to add that Lucas just by itself. It's painfully slow. So as you can see here, and you can see it's mixed because it kind of has almost a purple tint to it when it goes in. Kind of fluoresces there in the light. You can kind of see some of it, but anyway, you can see that it just dumps right in, mix and all. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and fill this transmission all the way up, and we'll light it off, check our dipstick, and take it for a spin. Alright, so there we go. The dipstick, red where it should. you want to be careful. I drove the car around already. You want to kind of let it settle because you have a lot of fluid in this dipstick tube after you fill it. So you want to keep that in mind. So just check your readings. You have a cold reading and a hot reading. But you want to check it after you're sure that all this fluid's out. So these Jeeps supposedly take 4 quarts. And then the V8 takes 5 quarts. There's a lot more quarts running around through that transmission system. When you drop the pan, that's what comes out. So you got an inline 6, it's 4 quarts. One way to tell that a Jeep's been you know, taken apart or the tranny's been serviced is the original tranny pan gasket is actually pretty thick. So when you put your dipstick back in, it actually doesn't go down all the way because of that pan gasket difference. So that's something to keep in mind. But anyway, we'll take it out on the road and see how she does after I get all cleaned up here. You know, we'll get some video feed on it shifting through the gears. Alright, so we got our transmission fluid all switched out and transmission is shifting like butter. So we'll just give you a look at getting on the interstate here as it goes through the gears. So we're in first gear right now. Should be third. And there's overdrive. So when that kicks in pretty early in the RPM, drops down nice and low, smooth as butter. So anyway, there you go. Transmission change or transmission oil change seems to be successful. And I always recommend running that Lucas stop slip even if you don't have any problems. It works wonders. So I've had this Jeep forever, but back at when it had 70,000 miles it started slipping, and I added that stuff, and I've added that every time I've serviced the transmission fluid, and 160,000 miles I'm still going. I still got overdrive. So anyway, pretty much, there you have it. You know, it doesn't get much better than that.